It's Friday, July 21st. We have exactly 1 week until we launch Wave Rover. The Wave Rover 650, a design based on my single-handed ocean voyages. She's small, light, but easy to build, and strong enough to cross any ocean. My name's Alan Mulholland, and this is the Wave Rover story. Well, Rovers, I don't blame you if you're doubting whether this is going to come off in 7 days, but keep the faith. It is going to be launched 29th of July at the Charlottetown Yacht Club at 10 a.m. in the morning. Now, there are numerous things left to do, and a number of those are underway. I call them like mini projects. They will be finished. We have a lot to do. Time to crack on. Well, the exterior paint has been repaired. The Hatteras off-white from Total Boat looks great, and the blue cruising stripe was refreshed on account of the extra painting that was done. Terrific. So if you remember the model that I made a while back, these aren't the actual holes, and this isn't the actual cord. Instead, this is the cord I'm using. It's polyester line. It's 8 plat. It's 5/32. It has a breaking strength of almost 900 pounds, and these are the holes it's going through. So you can see there's a nice bit of room there, and I can squeeze in a little bit of Sikaflex to just keep the cordage from slipping. Anyway, got a bit more to do on these. Time to crack on. Well, this is like the boat builder's laundry out to dry. We've got a collection of things happening here. So everything has received 2 coats of S1. This is part of the Mark III Mini. This is part of the Mark III Mini, and this is part of the Mark III Mini. And then these 2 items here and over here are the seats. So now, as soon as that is hard, we'll give it a light sanding, and then everything will get a nice coat of Total Boat Wet Edge Hatteras off-white. All right, the painting frenzy is underway. Mrs. Rover's working on the Mark III Mini, one of the Mark III Mini components, and these are supports for the stair treads. Now everything gets 2 coats of S1, which takes 48 hours, and then 2 coats of top coat, which again is another 48 hours. So we're talking 4 days to get the painting complete. But those are not the only items Mrs. Rover is working on. She's also painting these other components of the Mark III Mini, and she also has the seats underway. They're a little farther along. They already received their first coat, top coat, so they'll get their second one today, so they'll be ready to install tomorrow. So what I'm doing today is I'm running this split loam right here, which is a black plastic conduit. Here's a better piece, and it's split, as you can see, so you can get wires in there. Now, I'll be running this all the way from our distribution center and then following little trails that I've made by cutting holes, and it'll go under this section of deck, and then back up, and then eventually go all the way back aft, because it'll be carrying the power for the stern light, and also the VHF will also have a power point here, and this line that I'm running will also power the, of course, the other running lights. I probably should have mentioned that this is just an automotive grade product. It's used to, keep wires together and keep them from chafing for automobiles. And, this is just a brand name that we get at Princess Auto here in Canada. But this is really what I wanted to show you. It comes in different diameters. This is 1/2-inch stuff. And the stuff that I'm running right here, this is 3/4 inch, which is the actual inside diameter, not the outside. And it's quite flexible, and it's really not that expensive, and you can probably pick this up or the equivalent of this in just about any hardware store. Now, to keep it from flopping all around the place, I have these little things that are, well, this is what they look like. They have an adhesive back to them. You peel that off and then you just stick them on. Maybe we can see right here. I've got one right there, and I'll put a few more on after we run the wire. I just have a few on right now just to hold everything in place. Well, I've got all the conduits in, and I just haven't terminated them until we get the wires through them. Also, we have the hose. That's a 1.5-inch ID hose for the bilge pump, which is located right here. And we've got a one-way valve right there, so any water that may come in will stop pretty much at this point. The other thing that's happening is Mrs. Rover has started to put the names on the benefactor's bulkhead. And boy, oh boy, she's doing a nice job. I'll be taking a close-up of that so everybody can see their name when it's finished. Here's another project I finished off yesterday, and that is this piece of Teflon here. It's been drilled for the lashings for the rudder. It's the right size. It's lined up with the skag, and it's secured to the inside. All those holes, just so you know, you just can't throw this thing up. All those holes had to be drilled out, filled with epoxy, then re-drilled and bolted. So everything's a multi-day project, and there's a lot of projects underway. The bottom of the boat has been prepped for bottom paint, but I need to level the boat out again before I can apply it, which will probably take not long, but it's probably a 2 or 3 hour process of leveling and marking the water line before I can even attempt to paint it. And we have iffy weather. It just rained about 2 minutes ago, and now it's bright sunshine again. But she's looking good. We've got the paint on, and the cruising line is on, and Mrs. Rover is making the 3-hour round trip to Charlottetown. That's not including stopping to pick up supplies, but we should have the Wave Rover 2 decal that we'll be able to put on tomorrow. She's picking that up, and she's picking up the engine mount, and once I see that, I'll have to again drill holes for that and fill them with epoxy, wait a day, and then re-drill them again, and then it's a multi-day process. And we've got all of our little bits and pieces now painted, just letting them dry in the sun. Currently I'm working on this, which is the rudder and the trim tab. And the way I had designed it was it has 2 points here, the lashings that it'll pivot on, and then I also had a bearing right up here. And this will all make sense. I'm not even going to go into it right now. I'll explain that in next week's video, the last video before the launch. But I realized that this shaft, which is only 3/8, because that's all I could get at the time, it's just too flimsy at this point. You can see it's moving. So I have to put a second bearing point right here, and that'll stiffen it up. So, and that of course will have to be drilled out. So I'll do that right now on camera. So I've already carefully marked it using this upper bearing as a template. Okay, so that's just like a 3/16 hole. That's not big enough. That's just a pilot hole just to ensure that I'm going straight through. I'll just remove this just to get it out of the way. So now I'll change up the bits. I'll go to a larger bit. I'll be using 1/4" bolts to hold it, but this is really close to the water line, so I'm going to make these 1/2" holes. But first I'll make it a 3/8 hole. These are not the best bits. They're very, very aggressive. So that's why I don't go all the way through. And I've got the holes marked on this side, so we'll try to line them up. If you haven't done this a lot of times, don't practice on something important like this. Practice elsewhere. It takes a while to get to a point where you can drill a hole straight through, because you have to worry about this plane, which you can see really easily when you look down the drill. But what you can't see is if your drill is doing this. So that's experience helps you over time. Okay, so we're lined up now, and the final cut will move to a 1/2" bit. Okay, so we've got 2 nice big 1/2" holes right through our rudder. We're going to wet those out with epoxy. You've seen me do that a million times. Then I'll fill it with a thickened epoxy. I've got 3 or 4 other jobs I'm doing right now, so I'll do them all at once. In fact, let me just show you what I'm working on. So this is the tiller. And I need to thicken the tiller up, not the full length, but just at the initial spot where it, at the rudder head. So the rudder will be from about here to here, and I'll leave it a little bit thicker, and then the rest is just the handle of the rudder. Of course, I'll be shaping this and rounding it, but anyway, that's today's glue up along with the rudder. At this point in the game, the shape of the tiller is in your head, so you don't really need to measure anything. You know what you need to do. Well, it's hot and humid today, but yeah, just spent probably 45 minutes shaping this tiller. You know, under normal circumstances, that would be a weekend project, but I think it's beautiful. And it's all ready to go. I'll just bring it in a little tighter. I'm going to send this off now to Mrs. Rover and have it painted with 2 coats of S1, and then we'll have the Hatteras off-white covering it so that it's a zero maintenance or a very low maintenance tiller. Time to crack on with the next project. Also, our engine arrived, well, it arrived a week or so ago, but now I've taken it out of the box and I'm starting to take measurements and figure out where to put the engine mount. All I need is an engine mount, which, as I mentioned, Mrs. Rover is picking up in Charlottetown today. So it's a Tohatsu 6-horse Sail Pro ultra long shaft, and the prop is pitched in such a way as to give sort of high torque. So I'm here with my good friend Stephen, and Stephen showed up today with the grate. So this is going to be located just below the ladder, and Stephen built it in his own shop and brought it over. So Stephen, why don't you tell us all how this whole thing started?
So I had the great honor of being trusted to create, design, and build the grate, and I was given a template that fits in the companion way of the cabin, and from that, and I was given free rein design. So I chose a Western red cedar for the grate and the frame that'll go around it, and for a sub frame we have white oak, and took about 20 hours of construction time to come up with the design.
So we're on a real time crunch right now. So we glued this up, and then tomorrow or later perhaps, when this glue is hardened, we'll do the rest of the frame, which is beautiful material. If you can see it, it's quarter sawn Western red cedar. So take a look at that. Isn't that is really nice. Nice clear stuff. And we're not going to put it in place because the epoxy's still wet right here, but by the time it's finished, this will be a work of art. It'll be really quite eye-catching, and the nice thing about cedar is we can just let it weather. You know, we don't need to finish it with any varnish or anything. It'll look beautiful over time. And just as we are doing that, Mrs. Rover is arriving back. I just heard her. And she spent, I think I had mentioned it in an earlier video, an hour and a half getting to Charlottetown, an hour and a half getting back. And she'll have the engine, the outboard engine mount, and a bunch of fasteners that I've been waiting for, and some plumbing bits. Hello, Mrs. Rover, can you just give us a wave? If only the camera could pick up the aroma in here right now. It smells like a sauna with this beautiful cedar. So we'll finish the glue up later today. Well, are we going to be able to launch in time? Well, you better believe it. We are going to launch in time. July 29th, exactly 7 days from now, 10 a.m. in the morning at the Charlottetown Yacht Club. If you can be there, please come out, help cheer us on at the launch and wish us well. We're going to have a little guest book there that you can sign. If you can't, please keep us in your thoughts and prayers. As always, Rovers, thanks for watching, and forge your own adventure.